What if I told you that the thing you've been praying for, the breakthrough, the opportunity, the purpose, the answer you've been desperately searching for, may already exist inside you? What if the greatest treasure God placed in your life isn't somewhere far away waiting to be discovered, but hidden within you, waiting to be awakened? Before you scroll away, stay with me, because one sentence in this message may completely change the way you see yourself forever. And if this message found you today, maybe it's not by accident. Maybe God wants to remind you of something you've forgotten about yourself. There are people listening right now who feel ordinary, invisible, replaceable. You've spent so much time comparing your life to others that you've started believing you have nothing special to offer. You look at someone else's success and wonder why your life feels so small. You look at someone else's gifts and question whether God forgot to give you any of your own. But that is one of the greatest lies fear ever tells. God has never created an empty life. Every person He creates carries something valuable that the world needs: a gift, a purpose, a calling, a treasure. The problem is that treasures are rarely placed in obvious places. Think about gold hidden beneath mountains. Think about diamonds buried deep beneath the earth. The most valuable things in the world are often hidden beneath pressure, darkness, and time. Could it be that God works the same way with people? Perhaps the reason you haven't discovered your treasure yet is because God is still shaping it beneath the surface. Imagine holding an old wooden chest covered in dust. From the outside, it looks ordinary, forgotten, worthless. People walk past it without noticing. But inside that chest lies something priceless. The value was always there. It simply hadn't been revealed yet. Many people live their entire lives believing the outside story while never discovering what God placed within them. They let fear define them. They let failure label them. They let rejection convince them that they are less valuable than they truly are. But your mistakes are not your identity. Your disappointments are not your identity. Your worst season is not your identity. God never measures your value by your failures. He measures it by the purpose He placed inside you before you were even born. Look back at the hardest chapters of your life, the pain you survived, the battles you fought, the nights you thought you wouldn't make it through. What if those moments weren't only breaking you? What if they were revealing strengths you never knew you possessed? Courage is often discovered in fear. Faith is often discovered in uncertainty. Strength is often discovered in struggle. Some treasures can only be uncovered under pressure. Think about David before he became king. People saw a shepherd boy. God saw a leader. Think about Moses before he led a nation. People saw weakness and insecurity. God saw purpose. Think about Peter before he changed the world. People saw an ordinary fisherman. God saw something extraordinary hidden beneath the surface. Perhaps God sees something in you that you have not yet learned to see in yourself. Perhaps your hidden treasure isn't money or success at all. Perhaps it's compassion, wisdom, leadership, creativity, the ability to inspire people, the strength to survive what others could not, the power to become the answer to someone else's prayer. The world teaches people to search outside themselves for value. God often invites us to look inward and discover what He already placed there. Maybe you've spent years asking God to give you purpose. What if He's been asking you to uncover it? Maybe you've been praying for confidence. What if confidence grows the moment you stop comparing your journey to everyone else's? Maybe you've been waiting for permission to become who God created you to be. This is your permission. You are not an accident. You are not ordinary. You are not forgotten. There is something inside you that the world has never seen before. And perhaps the reason you faced so much resistance is because the enemy recognizes the treasure before you do.
So don't allow today's doubts to bury tomorrow's purpose. Don't let fear lock away what God intended to shine. Because one day, you'll look back and realize the treasure you spent your whole life searching for was quietly growing inside you all along, waiting for the moment God decided it was time to be revealed.
The greatest tragedy in life is not dying with an empty bank account. It's dying with untapped potential still hidden inside you. So many people spend their lives searching for purpose in places where it was never meant to be found. They chase approval, recognition, money, and status, believing that if they can just achieve enough, then they'll finally feel valuable. But purpose was never something God intended for you to earn. It was something He placed inside you from the very beginning. Imagine an old violin sitting forgotten in the corner of a room for years. Dust covers its surface. The strings have gone silent. To most people, it looks worthless. But place that same violin into the hands of a master musician, and suddenly beautiful music fills the room. The value was never missing. The right hands simply hadn't revealed it yet. Many people see themselves through the eyes of disappointment. God sees them through the eyes of purpose. You see your failures. He sees your potential. You see your mistakes. He sees your growth. You see your limitations. He sees possibilities that you cannot yet imagine. That's why you must be careful about the voice you choose to believe. The world will often remind you of everything you're not. God reminds you of everything you can become. Perhaps you've spent years believing you're too broken to be used, too old to begin again, too ordinary to make a difference, too damaged to carry purpose. But God has a long history of using ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. Moses doubted himself. Gideon felt inadequate. Jeremiah believed he was too young. Peter failed repeatedly. Yet God used every one of them. Their weakness did not disqualify them. In many ways, it became part of their testimony. Sometimes, the very thing you're most insecure about becomes the place where God reveals His strength most clearly. The pain you survived may become the wisdom someone else desperately needs. The struggle you endured may become the story that gives another person hope. The battle you fought in private may one day become the reason someone else refuses to give up. Nothing is wasted in God's hands. Not your tears, not your failures, not your waiting seasons, not even your regrets. God has a remarkable ability to transform broken pieces into beautiful stories. Think about a seed buried beneath the soil. From the outside, burial and planting look exactly the same. Darkness surrounds it. Pressure presses against it. Everything feels hidden. But the seed understands something important. What looks like burial is actually preparation for growth. Perhaps you've mistaken your planting season for your ending. Perhaps the pressure you're experiencing isn't destroying you. Perhaps it's preparing you. Treasures are rarely discovered in comfortable places. Gold passes through fire. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Pearls are created through irritation and struggle. Could it be that God is using your current season to shape something valuable inside you? One day you'll understand why the process was necessary. One day you'll see why certain doors closed, why certain people left, why certain prayers were delayed. Because the treasure God was creating inside you required time. The world celebrates quick success. God often works through quiet preparation. Don't rush the process. Don't compare your timeline to someone else's journey. A flower doesn't compete with the flower beside it. It simply blooms when its season arrives. Your season will come too. Your calling has not disappeared. Your value has not decreased because life became difficult.
The treasure is still there, still growing, still waiting for the right moment to be revealed. And perhaps sooner than you think, God will open a door that allows the world to finally see what He has always seen in you from the very beginning.
There comes a moment in every person's life when they must decide whose voice will define them. The voice of fear, the voice of failure, the people who underestimated them, or the voice of the God who created them. Too many people spend years living inside limitations that were never placed there by God. Someone rejected them, and they started believing they weren't worthy. Someone criticized them, and they began doubting their gifts. A dream failed, and they convinced themselves they were never meant for greatness. But God never called you according to your past. He called you according to your purpose. Think about an eagle raised among chickens. It grows up watching the chickens stay close to the ground. It learns to think like them. It learns to move like them. It learns to fear the sky it was created to conquer. Then one day it looks up and sees another eagle soaring above the mountains. For the first time, something inside begins to awaken. A question forms in its heart. What if I was made for more than this? Perhaps that's exactly what God is trying to whisper to you today. What if you were made for more than fear, more than regret, more than surviving one difficult season after another? What if the dreams that refuse to leave your heart were placed there by God Himself? The enemy's greatest strategy is not always to destroy your purpose. Sometimes it's simply to convince you that you don't have one. Because a person who doesn't believe in their purpose will often bury their treasure before the world ever has a chance to see it. Remember the story of the talents. The servant who buried his gift didn't lose it because someone stole it. He lost it because fear convinced him not to use it. Fear has buried more dreams than failure ever has. Fear says you're not ready. Fear says you're not qualified. Fear says someone else could do it better. But faith speaks a different language. Faith says, begin before you feel ready. Faith says, trust God with what you have. Faith says that obedience matters more than perfection. Imagine a candle sitting unlit in a dark room. The candle already contains everything it needs to produce light. The flame is possible. The purpose already exists. It simply needs to be ignited. You may be that candle. The ability is already there. The compassion is already there. The creativity is already there. The leadership is already there. The courage is already there. Perhaps all you've been waiting for is the moment God lights the flame. And when that moment comes, you'll realize that your years of struggle were not empty years. They were preparation years. The hidden season often comes before the visible season. Roots grow before trees appear. Foundations are built before houses stand. Character is formed before influence arrives. God often hides His greatest treasures until the right moment, because treasures revealed too early are rarely appreciated or protected. So don't become discouraged if your season feels quiet. Don't lose hope if your progress feels invisible. And don't compare your journey to people who were given a different path to walk. Your story is unique. Your calling is unique. Your timing is unique. The treasure inside you does not need to compete with anyone else's treasure. It only needs to be faithful to its purpose. One day, the opportunities will come. The doors will open. The people who overlooked you will wonder how they failed to recognize what was there all along. But when that day arrives, remember this:
The treasure was never created by success. Success simply revealed what God had already placed inside you from the beginning. So, protect your faith. Guard your purpose. Keep growing during hidden seasons. Because the God who placed the treasure inside you already knows the exact moment the world will be ready to see it.
As this message comes to an end, I want you to leave you with one truth that could change the way you see yourself forever. You are carrying something valuable, something God placed inside you long before anyone spoke your name, long before your first success, long before your first failure, long before the world tried to tell you who you were supposed to be. Your value was never created by people's opinions, and it cannot be destroyed by people's rejection. The treasure inside you is still there, even if life disappointed you, even if fear convinced you to stay small, even if you've spent years believing you had nothing special to offer. God has never created an ordinary soul without extraordinary purpose. There will be seasons when your gifts feel invisible. There will be moments when your progress feels slow. There will be days when you wonder if your efforts matter at all. During those moments, remember this: the treasure buried beneath the earth does not lose its value simply because nobody can see it. Hidden does not mean forgotten. Unseen does not mean unimportant. And delayed does not mean denied. God often protects His greatest treasures during seasons of preparation, because some things must grow in private before they can survive in public. The world celebrates what is visible. God often works through what is invisible. He strengthens character before success. He builds wisdom before influence. He develops humility before promotion. And when the time is right, He reveals what He has been preparing all along. So don't become discouraged by hidden seasons. Don't lose confidence because recognition has not arrived yet. And don't allow comparison to steal the joy of your own journey. The oak tree does not envy the rose. The mountain does not compete with the ocean. Each fulfills its own purpose in its own season. Your calling was never meant to look like someone else's. Your path was never meant to follow someone else's timeline. The treasure inside you was designed specifically for the life God planned for you. One day, you'll look back and realize that the years you called waiting were actually years of preparation. The struggles were strengthening you. The delays were protecting you. The quiet seasons were shaping the person you needed to become. And when the door finally opens, you'll understand why God refused to rush the process, because treasures are not revealed before they are ready. So keep growing, keep learning, keep trusting, keep becoming the person God created you to be. Because your purpose has not been lost, your calling has not disappeared, and your best days are not behind you. They're still ahead of you. If this message encouraged your heart today, please support God Message Global by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and turning on the notification bell so you never miss future messages of faith, hope, and encouragement. Share this message with someone who may have forgotten their worth or lost sight of the treasure God placed inside them. Sometimes one message can awaken purpose that has been sleeping for years. Before you leave, write these words in the comments: "The treasure God placed inside me is still growing." Your declaration may become the encouragement someone else needs to keep believing in their own purpose. Thank you for watching. May God strengthen your faith, reveal your purpose in His perfect timing, and remind you every single day that you are loved, chosen, and carrying a treasure far more valuable than you realize. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next message.